The Magical Presence by Godfre. This is the second book in a trilogy. If you haven't yet heard the first one, it is available in the description. Chapter 1. The Meeting at the Ranch. I parted from you, my reader, at the conclusion of Unveiled Mysteries, wherein the great ascended Master Lanto was extending his benediction to America and all humanity from the retreat within the Royal Teton. Within this volume, I shall chronicle a subsequent series of significant and marvelous experiences which I was privileged to undergo during those months of association with our beloved ascended Master Saint Germain. One morning I received a missive from him, which enclosed a letter of introduction addressed to a Mr. Daniel Rayborn, residing at the Brown Palace Hotel in Denver. Upon entering the establishment the following day to inquire after him, I encountered a long-standing acquaintance, Mr. Gaylord, whom I had known for many years. He was accompanied by an elder gentleman whom he immediately presented, and who, to my astonishment, proved to be Mr. Rayborn himself. I tendered the letter of introduction, and following a brief conversation, we agreed to dine together that evening. The subsequent day found our entire party en route to the Diamond K Ranch in Wyoming, one of the Rayborn mining properties wherein the experiences delineated in this book commenced. I scarcely realized on that day the significance my association with him would assume, nor the eventualities to which it would lead. Such experiences compel one to comprehend the perfection of the great, wise, all-pervading intelligence that guides us unerringly toward persons, places, and conditions precisely when and where they are most requisite. My initial impression of Rayborn was exceedingly agreeable, for his entire demeanor radiated harmony and benevolence. Simultaneously, I perceived him to be a man of robust character possessing an acute sense of honor. He possessed a finely molded cranium, classic features, iron-gray hair, and limpid, piercing blue-gray eyes. He stood with impeccable posture and measured fully 6 feet 2 inches in height. He had a son of 18 years and a daughter of 16. Both of whom had recently returned from their schooling in the East. We arrived at our destination, where the children met us at the train. After conversing for a moment, we entered the Rayborn automobile and were conveyed to the ranch, a distance of approximately 20 miles. The son, Rex, was a tall, splendid, and handsome young man bearing the same classic features as his father, whom he resembled strongly. He stood at least 6 feet 1 inch in stature, with abundant, wavy light brown hair and piercing violet blue eyes. The daughter, Nada, was strikingly beautiful, possessing a peculiar air of old-world dignity and grace. She was approximately 5 feet 7 inches in height, of slight build, with tresses resembling her brother's and deep blue eyes. There existed a distinct charm regarding all three Rayborns which one perceived immediately. The magnificent location and beauty of the residence and grounds enchanted us, for the estate was situated at the entrance to a narrow valley extending westward into the embrace of the Great Rockies. To the north, a towering peak ascended to an elevation exceeding 8,000 feet. The house, facing south, was constructed of blue-gray granite, evoking thoughts of the turreted castles of medieval Europe and the ancient edifices of the Far East. The grounds immediately surrounding it were beautifully designed and impeccably maintained. The structure itself was vast and rectangular in form, featuring a tower at each corner, the one at the southwest, facing the mountains, constituting a large circular chamber on the 3rd floor. The remainder of the structure was but 2 stories in height and had evidently been established for many years. Daniel Rayborn, at the age of 20, had inherited the entire estate from an uncle who traveled extensively, was deeply interested in higher research work, and had resided for many years in India and Arabia. We entered the residence, whereupon Rex escorted me to a suite of rooms on the second floor at the southeast corner of the building. Dinner was soon announced, and we enjoyed a delectable repast at a beautifully appointed table. While dining, we entered into a discussion regarding our plans. During the course of our meal, Mr. Rayborn mentioned that he expected John Gray, the superintendent of his mines, to join us that evening. We had scarcely mentioned his name when his arrival was announced. He stepped into the chamber, greeted the family pleasantly, and I was presented to him. As we clasped hands, a cold chill traversed my body, accompanied by a sensation of repulsion. He was a handsome man of approximately 40 years, nearly 6 feet in height, with piercing dark eyes which I observed were never quiescent. I perceived his eyes following the daughter frequently with a peculiar gaze which the others did not appear to discern. Mr. Rayborn excused himself and, with the superintendent, retired to the library. The remainder of our party proceeded to the music room and enjoyed 2 hours of delightful music, for both children possessed remarkable voices. It was during the discussion of their musical training that a shadow of sadness passed over Nada's countenance. She remarked, "We both inherited our voices from Mother, who sang extensively in opera, where Father first made her acquaintance. My mother, in speaking of it, often stated, 'We recognized in each other an inner quality that grew progressively stronger as time elapsed. Subsequently, we ascertained that we were twin rays, which naturally accounts for the many wonderful events that have occurred to us since. We have both articulated many times that it seemed as if each had been searching for the other through the centuries. And naturally, there has always existed that very great love and perfect understanding between us. Mother's father was an Englishman, and her mother, who was educated in England, was the daughter of an Arab sheikh. 2 years ago, Mother was taken ill and passed on within a few weeks, notwithstanding that everything possible was done to preserve her life. During the final 4 weeks, she received transcendent revelations which have elucidated many matters for us. Shortly after I was born, our beloved Master Saint Germain appeared to her. He explained that she had work to perform on the higher planes of life, and that he would always hold Rex and me in his great loving, protecting care. He is so wonderful and loving toward us that I wish we might share our joy with the entire world. The East and Far East, that is, India, China, Arabia, Egypt, and Persia, accord much greater recognition to, and understand much more clearly, what the great ascended masters have accomplished for humanity and how much the entire race of our earth owes to their transcendent love and far-reaching care. He has taught us so plainly the way by which these great ones have been enabled to raise and illumine the physical body by purifying it through the use of the consuming flame of their own divinity, which he terms the mighty I Am Presence. He informs us that this can only be accomplished by adoration to that presence and complete obedience of the personality, or outer consciousness, to its every direction. He states that the secret is to maintain constant inner communion with the I Am Presence at all times, so that the perfection which it is ever pouring forth may manifest through the outer consciousness without being distorted by our own inharmony or that of the physical world around us. It is in this manner, beloved Saint Germain explained, that the ascended masters have attained complete dominion over all manifestation, and have concluded the work in human embodiment which beloved Jesus declared everyone must sometime perform. They express forever full mastery over all conditions on this physical earth. For all substance and energy are their willing and obedient servants, extending even to the elements and powers of nature, because they have become the fullness of divine love. Their entire work with mankind is to lead everyone eventually to this same mastery, but it can only arrive through the self-effort of the individual and the fullness of sufficient love. Mother had many strange experiences in her childhood, and my grandmother told her of others yet stranger, for her grandfather had witnessed many of the remarkable deeds which these great ones perform. One whom he knew quite well was from my grandmother's own land of Arabia. He was greatly adored by all he contacted, as his entire life was a constant blessing and service to mankind. Beloved Saint Germain initially manifested to Mother on a specific evening near the inception of her career in grand opera. She had been performing for a mere few months when, upon one occasion, she was rendered nearly voiceless by acute stage fright. She was situated within her dressing chambers moments prior to the performance when a frantic terror seized her, obliterating her memory entirely. Beloved Saint Germain entered in his tangible body, introduced himself, and placed the fingers of his right hand upon her forehead. Instantaneously, all trepidation vanished, the recollection of her role returned, and she felt tranquil and composed. That evening, her success was monumental, and it continued to augment, becoming resplendent beyond her most cherished aspirations. He informed her that she had merited the entitlement to the protecting presence of the ascended masters, and henceforth it would be immutable. He described the gentleman she was destined to espouse, as well as the son and daughter who were to be born to her. Subsequently, he appeared at regular intervals and instructed her regarding numerous inner laws, which she was capable of comprehending and implementing with astounding consequences. Astounding, at least, to those incapable of utilizing the higher law, yet entirely natural to those who understand and manipulate said laws through love. Father, beloved Saint Germain stated, was not sufficiently awakened to be apprised of such activities until approximately 1 year prior. At that juncture, due to an impending peril, Saint Germain appeared to him in the tangible body and elucidated that Father would narrowly escape death at the hands of one whom he trusted as a confidant. Nevertheless, he was to remain at peace, for the ascended masters would provide the requisite protection. We were all so engrossed in this discourse that I felt nearly disheartened when Mr. Rayborn and the superintendent joined our company. After attending to Nada and Rex as they performed an Arabian love song for their father, we all separated for the evening and retired to our chambers. I was so exhilarated because beloved Saint Germain had appeared to Mrs. Rayborn that I possessed no inclination for slumber. I commenced to perceive that a greater rationale existed for my presence within their home than that of which I was outwardly cognizant. I seated myself in a commodious chair and surrendered to the contemplation of the ascended masters, feeling profound gratitude to them for the gracious reception with which these blessed individuals had welcomed me. I must have succumbed to slumber, for I awakened abruptly, surmising that I had heard someone summoning me. I experienced such a compelling impulse to arise and venture into the open atmosphere that I could not resist it. I was thoroughly awake and keenly expectant of some occurrence, yet of what nature, I knew not. I descended the stairs, exited the residence, and proceeded along a pathway adjacent to a substantial barn. In a moment, there was a movement amidst the shadows, and acting upon a sudden impulse, I positioned myself behind a tree. At that precise instant, a man emerged from the barn. I observed another movement among the trees and, upon closer scrutiny, discerned a man standing with a rifle positioned at his shoulder, dimly visible within the obscurity. As he leveled his aim at the individual exiting the barn, I desired to shout a warning, yet I was unable to produce a sound. Before I could cogitate, a blinding flash of light struck the man with the rifle squarely in the countenance, revealing his features as he collapsed forward as though struck by lightning. Notwithstanding that the sky was crystalline clear, I remained unable to move from my position, and the man from the barn advanced steadily, totally oblivious to his escape. I perceived that it was Mr. Rayborn, although he did not observe me. Thus I remained stationary until he had entered the residence, whereupon I hastened to the location where I had witnessed the man fall. However, he had fled. I investigated the vicinity for some distance but discovered no trace of him, so I retreated to my chambers. It was then nearly 1 o'clock. I retired to bed expeditiously, and by a potent effort, I was able to succumb to sleep. When I descended to breakfast the subsequent morning, all present were radiantly jubilant except Gray, the superintendent, who appeared apprehensive and extremely pallid. The Rayborns, Gaylord, and I experienced a most enjoyable interval organizing our day, which concluded with the children suggesting that we journey to Table Mountain, one of their preferred haunts in the Wyoming Rockies. In the interim, Gray remained almost sullenly taciturn, refusing to meet the gaze of anyone. He concluded his breakfast, excused himself, and drove to the station. When he had departed, my initial impulse was to inform Rayborn of the prior night's occurrence. But upon reconsideration, I resolved to wait until I could address him in private. I excused myself, prepared for our excursion up the mountain, and returned just in time to witness the groom leading out our horses. One of them was a magnificent Arabian steed, cream in hue with a white mane and tail, the most exquisite animal I have ever beheld. He approached Nada directly, to whom he belonged, and with an expression in his eyes that appeared almost of human intelligence, stood proudly before her, awaiting the lumps of sugar she extended. She cherished him, and he was cognizant of it. "This is Pegasus," she stated, caressing him. He extended his neck, placed his muzzle against my visage, proceeded to Rex, and subsequently returned to Nada as if granting consent to my inclusion in the party. "He approves of you and accepts you as a trusted friend," Nada commented after observing his expression for a moment. "That is a novel behavior for him, as he has never established a rapport with anyone save Rex, the groom, and myself." "Where did you acquire him?" I inquired. "He was presented to Mother," she replied, "by an Arab sheik in appreciation for a concert she performed in Cairo. He was dispatched here to the ranch as a surprise when she returned from her final tour. It was truly the ultimate concert of her career, and her success was tremendous. The elderly sheik adored music and enjoyed that specific concert especially. Pegasus is handsome, is he not?" she continued. The love in Nada's voice was unequivocal and justifiable, for no one could refrain from admiring the exquisite creature. We mounted our steeds, waved farewell to Rayborn, cantered across the valley, and soon entered the mountain trail. It wound steadily upward through the beautiful timber. Occasionally, we emerged into a clearing and paused to enjoy the magnificent vista. We followed the mountain stream for a considerable distance. The melody of the birds, the fragrance of the flora, and the exhilaration of the rarefied atmosphere made us feel radiantly robust and grateful to be alive. We attained the summit of the mountain near noon, and there before us lay a level expanse covering at least 20 acres, a veritable plateau suspended in the midst of those towering giants. A cozy, diminutive cabin and a shelter for the horses had been constructed. It was composed of stone with an integrated stove, very unique and utilitarian. We enjoyed the beauty of the surrounding landscape for a time and then seated ourselves for a delightful luncheon. Rex commented, "I feel as if we had all known each other for ages," and Nada and I admitted that we felt the same. "Let us proceed to the cave via the alternate trail as soon as we conclude our luncheon," he suggested, and we acquiesced. By traversing to the opposite side of the mountain, we discovered a suitable trail descending into an area where the scenery was more untamed and rugged. In some locations, the rocks appeared as if they had been stained green, blue, and black by some marvelous mineral pigmentation. The sunlight and shadow played upon them as we altered our position, producing the effect of a beautiful, inspiring panorama. We continued down the trail for approximately 4,000 feet, turned sharply, and arrived at the eastern face of the mountain. Millennia ago, a portion of it had evidently cleaved away, rendering the entire side a sheer cliff at least 1,000 feet above us. The trail we were traversing wound around the south side, turning toward the eastern wall and running along a shelf-like projection that conducted us to the entrance of the cave. The trail was strewn with massive boulders that rendered it arduous and difficult of access. A wing of rock concealed the entrance as if nature jealously guarded her secrets from inquisitive eyes. We left the horses tethered safely nearby, and Rex retrieved 3 powerful flashlights from his saddlebag. "Prepare yourself for a revelation," he exclaimed, turning his gaze toward me, and subsequently led the way into the cavern. Approximately 50 feet from the aperture, we entered a cavern of moderate dimensions. The instant my vision accommodated to the altered illumination, I perceived that the entire ceiling was encrusted with a crystalline substance of rose and white hues. We traversed the initial expanse, a distance of roughly 30 feet, and proceeded through an archway that granted access to an immense vaulted chamber measuring at least 200 feet in diameter. The overhead expanse was adorned with iridescent stalactites arranged in the most astonishing formations I have ever witnessed. There existed crosses, circles, crosses inscribed within circles, triangles, and a multitude of occult symbols that have been utilized upon this earth since its very inception. It appeared as though these symbols had been suspended from the ceiling in eons past, and that nature had subsequently encased them within a carbonate of lime formation, vividly colored and most artistically decorated by her pigments. The magnificence of the spectacle rendered one speechless, transfixed with wonder and admiration. It evoked within one the sensation of unseen eyes observing every moment. Rex summoned us to approach the distal side of the chamber where he was stationed. We traversed the intervening space and positioned ourselves before a wall upon which were situated 3 arches, separated by intervals of approximately 20 feet. Within each archway resided a highly polished surface. The first to my left was of a Chinese red hue, the second a glittering white, and the third a cobalt blue. Immediately, I intuited that they held significance regarding the American nation. This sensation intensified to such a degree that I could scarcely endure it. "This is the work of a mighty intelligence from ages past," I declared, and I perceived that these arches seal entrances to further chambers or passages beyond. Nada and Rex regarded me with steady gazes, their countenances pallid from the intensity of a vision they beheld. "What is the matter?" I inquired. "Do you not feel it? Do you not see it?" they asked in return. "What?" I replied. They subsequently realized that I was oblivious to what they perceived, and thus explained. "You are evidently being overshadowed," stated Nada, "by an etheric form you inhabited ages ago, for the garments are unlike anything of which I have ever seen or heard. The physique is at least 6 feet 8 inches in stature. The hair is golden, descending almost to the shoulders, and the complexion is fair and unblemished. I am certain that some ancient memory is attempting to emerge into your outer consciousness. Let us recount to him our experience from the last occasion we visited this place," she suggested to Rex. "Precisely 1 year ago," Rex explained, "we traveled to this cave, and as I stood before the blue arch, I became so fascinated that I extended my hand and was tracing it over the surface when a voice, emerging directly from the atmosphere, commanded, 'Stop!' The voice was not one of anger, but rather that of supreme authority. We departed the cave immediately and have not returned until this present moment. Before I have concluded my visit with you, my dear companions, I feel certain that some profound explanation of it all shall be revealed," I replied. We returned to our steeds and discovered the beautiful Arabian, Pegasus, in a state of significant agitation, for he was highly sensitive to the spiritual power focused within this mountain, and the intensity of that energy rendered him restless. Only through extreme gentleness could Nada soothe him and prevent him from racing madly toward home. She remarked that there appeared to be no limit to his velocity when he became excited. We continued on our homeward journey, winding around the base of the mountain until we reached the conclusion of our descent. Thereupon, we granted the horses free rein, and within half an hour, we arrived at the ranch just prior to sunset. Daniel Rayborn emerged to greet us and announced that dinner would soon be prepared. During the repast, we recounted the experiences of the day, with Rex informing his father of the overshadowing form witnessed above my head within the cave. As he concluded his narrative, without offering any immediate explanation, his father stated his desire to speak with all 3 of us in the library following dinner, requesting that we meet him there at 8 o'clock. In the interim, we proceeded to the music room, while Nada retired to her mother's chambers and returned with an Arabian instrument bearing some resemblance to a Hawaiian guitar. It had been bestowed upon her by the beloved Saint Germain, who had instructed her in performing a specific melody upon it just prior to her hour of meditation. Nada and Rex both sang and alternated in playing the accompaniments upon the instrument. It provided a most exquisite background for their voices, for there resided something in the quality of the tone that seemed akin to a living entity, which penetrated to the very center of existence. Chapter 2. Revelations at the Mine. At precisely 8 o'clock, we entered the library and discovered that Daniel Rayborn had preceded us. He proceeded directly to the matter at hand. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, he commenced, "I received intelligence that the men have secured a substantial strike at the mine in Colorado, and I have dispatched Gray in advance. The day after tomorrow, I am compelled to join him. It is my desire that all of you accompany me. Nada shall be comfortably situated in the bungalow at the encampment, and you too may reside with me within the mine. I possess further intelligence to impart which is both solemn and peculiar. At 4 o'clock this morning, I was roused by a presence within my chamber, and upon becoming fully awake, I perceived it to be our beloved Saint Germain. He conversed with me for no less than 2 hours and, inter alia, disclosed that Gray had attempted to extinguish my life. Do you want access to this and all the complete audiobooks on the channel, plus the ebook version? Click the link in the description or scan the QR code in the left corner of the screen to access our library, where you can listen to your favorite esoteric books without ad interruptions, lock your screen, or use other apps while the narration plays, and even download the ebook version to follow along as you listen. Listen on your computer via web browser, or download the app from the Play Store. After subscribing, you will receive an email with your login details, password, and step-by-step instructions on how to access the books through the Hotmart app.